Hey guys, Gabe Suarez here, Suarez Tactics. So one of my associates sent me an article that was written by an article. I mean, it's a small write-up, small essay maybe, that was written by a prominent social media influencer. This guy's claim to fame is he watches gunfight videos, and then he analyzes, and then he talks about them on video. I don't think he's ever been a cop in the military or ever been in a gunfight, as far as I know. So his personal experience is limited to what he has seen or read about or been told. Okay, and so the gist of his write-up was the tap in the tap rack. Okay, now he calls it tap rack assess, which I disagree with. You know, if you're in a gunfight and your pistol malfunctions and you fix it, you verify that it's fixed by the sound it makes when you press the trigger one more time. Okay, so anyway, but be that as it may. So his premise was that, he's watched, 50, 60,000 videos of gunfights, and only in a small percentage were there any malfunctions. Like maybe 1% or something like that. And that of those, he only saw somebody tap the magazine once as part of the tap rack process. And so, and when they didn't do that, when they just racked the slide, they resolved the issue and continued fighting and so on. Okay. So based on that, his premise is that we should eliminate the tap in the tap rack, and he goes on to ridicule it and all sorts of things. Okay. So here's my perspective on this. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. The first thing is, when somebody presents we should do this, you analyze what their background is. Okay, so, if somebody like, for example, Paul Howe or Pat McNamara or Mark Fleischman or somebody like that had said, we should probably get rid of the tap in the tap rack. Okay, I would give that a serious thought and analysis, because that suggestion is coming from people with a great deal of operational experience. Okay. If it's a YouTube influencer that his whole claim to experience is that he's watched videos of other men win gunfights, okay, that's like taking sexual advice from a monk that watched porn once. No, okay, no, I'm sorry. The next part is, all right, if the credibility is not the top qualification here, is what this person is saying of value. And then you have to analyze it through your own, life experience, a filter of life experience, and ask yourself, does this make sense to me? Does this create a benefit for me? Does it make my life easier? And if that's a no, also, then you know what? Turn the page or swipe the chain, whatever it is, go on to the next thing, because this is not something of value. But because some people read that and are thinking, now, maybe we should eliminate it. Let me talk about this. Okay, so the tap in the tap rack. Okay, now this is something that came from the 1911 world, because in that era, and still today, sometimes the way that holsters were designed, they would depress the magazine release button, and the magazine didn't fly out. Okay, it stayed in there, and so that still happens today. Here's an example. Okay, so I have one of my HK P30s. Now, this is not endemic simply to the P30, but check this out. Okay, if I just tap that magazine release, okay, that magazine is still on there, and it could be in my holster, whatever. And when I come up to fire, the topmost round is going to fire. The weapon's going to cycle, but because the magazine is slightly removed from in battery, the slide is not going to pick up the next round. And so what I'm going to get is going to be what? It's going to be a failure to fire. And if I can rack that slide all day long, and you know what? It's not going to fix my issue. And it's not just this one. It happens. In fact, I've got a couple other pistols here. They're all loaded, so I'm going to leave them on the bench because I don't want Elmer Fudd to get upset with me pointing loaded weapons around or anything. But in any case, so this happens. Okay, now this happens when you have people carrying in deep concealment situations in holsters that, not all holsters are perfect, guys. Sometimes you even carry without a holster. Sometimes you carry it in a bag or whatever, especially now that, the fanny pack seems to be catching impetus again. So this is an issue. And the only way this is resolved is by the tap that so-and-so wants to remove. I think that's a foolish thing to do for that reason specifically. The second thing is, in the scope of a gunfight, racking the slide, does this preceding move, what does this cost me? What is it? Maybe a tenth of a second in a half-second maneuver? Okay, I think it's worth it because, look, the thing is if you have a malfunction, okay, they're not common, but if it happens, it's going to happen when you least expect. It's going to be probably in the middle of a gunfight because for the weapon to malfunction, you already have to have done what? Try to fire once. So you try to kill this guy that's trying to kill you and your gun didn't cooperate, okay? You don't have time to analyze and think and whatever. The only thing that you can do is something that you have practiced to the point where it's mindless, okay? Mindless. It's like you're in your car and you start skidding, you turn into the skid, stuff like that. Immediate action drills that can be executed without conscious thought, okay? And the tap rack is designed to do that. Now, the way that I teach malfunction clearances is different than the way that probably the vast majority of people teach them. I've got plenty of videos on there on YouTube and Patreon discussing how I do it. But in a nutshell, anytime the gun stops, I tap rack. Okay, without thought, without analysis, without anything. I get a dead trigger, tap rack immediately. What the tap rack does is it eliminates the failure to fire. It also eliminates the failure to eject, aka stovepipe. Kills those two things right off the bat. And it gives me information about the status of the weapon. If the tap rack works, you know what I do? I keep shooting. There's no assess. Do you know when you assess? You assess when you're standing over the dead criminal that tried to kill you. Okay, that's when you assess. Otherwise, no. All right, so tap rack, if the tap rack works, boom. If it doesn't work, the next step is very simple. I just reload the gun. I reach in here, I pull this magazine out, just like I'm doing in a proactive reload. But in this case, because I'm under duress, I discard the magazine, I access the fresh magazine, I insert it. There's the tap again, guys, okay? And I rack. So in essence, what I'm doing is I'm preceding the tap rack with a replacement of the magazine, okay? And those two maneuvers will tend to fix 99% of all malfunctions, okay? The final one, of course, is if none of that works, you have some sort of compound mother of all malfunctions, you just reboot the gun, unload, reload, and carry on. Okay, but the tap is an essential part of these maneuvers. You're programming the loading process and the loading magazine process and the slide process every time that you prepare the gun, when you do a proactive reload, and when you're clearing malfunction. So if you're removing the tap from that process, I think you're making a critical mistake that may seem cool, may seem edgy because all the cool guys are doing it, but you know what? It's going to come up and it's going to kick you in the balls in the middle of a fight because your pistol did this and you didn't anticipate it, okay? The tap rack is important. Don't get rid of it, okay? Let me see. Oh, the other thing is this. There are people that will teach analysis-based malfunction clearances, where, if I have a failure to fire, I'm going to do this one. If I have a stovepipe, I'm going to do that one. If I have this, I'm going to do this. So they have like 5 different maneuvers. They have a tap rack. They have a sweep rack. They have a this. And listen, in context, okay? And I'm not one of those guys that watch videos and pontificates about what I watched. I have done this for real. Trust me on this, okay? When you are in the fight, you are focused on what's going on in the fight. You're not focused on this, okay? And so what I suggest is you develop a windshield wiper solution, okay? Where it's non-diagnostic and it has broad effects. Windshield wiper doesn't snipe a raindrop. It sweeps across the whole windshield and wipes off all the raindrops. That's what you want to do with your malfunction clearances. Not just to sweep, not just to rack, not just this, not just that, but that entire process. Tap rack, if that works, continue shooting bad guys. If that doesn't work, reload the gun and continue shooting bad guys. If that doesn't work, reboot the gun and continue shooting bad guys. And if it hasn't worked by then, it's because something broke in the gun and you better go to your secondary or do battlefield pickup or something else because, but again, the most important thing here is preventive maintenance. That means don't carry a shitty gun, don't carry shitty ammo, okay? And don't carry a dirty gun. Now, I don't clean my guns like a Marine Corps boot camp guy, okay? You know, I let my guns get dirty, but I don't let them get ridiculously dirty where I would be embarrassed if somebody examined them. You know, I clean them maybe once every 6 months or so. If I look at it in my dry practice and my hands are dirty afterwards, I'll take it apart and I'll clean it. But again, preventive maintenance and then non-diagnostic windshield wiper concepts to solve the malfunction process. But you know what? Getting rid of the tap and tap rack, that's just stupid. Okay? Just like friends don't let friends skip leg day, friends don't let friends take the tap out of tap rack.